One.
Welcome to episode 25 of Wayne's World and Kelly. Welcome, Mr. Kuhn. How are you?
My God, the excitement of that introduction was just, it gave me goosebumps.
Well, I'm going to save it for our special guest today. So I'm very pleased to have my friend Chris Ayoub of The Light on our episode. Welcome, Chris. How are you?
I'm awesome. It's great to be here. Thanks, Wayne. And Kelly, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet my newest LinkedIn friend. I got to tell you, I was very, very impressed reading about you. I don't know if you're shy about it, so I want to go ahead and mention your resume a little bit, if I could.
Well, real quick, before you guys jump into that, what's not on my resume is that when I was in 6th grade for the talent show, I did Wayne's World.
No way,
Me and my friend Nick Gazelle. Yeah. Yeah. So this is bringing back some memories.
I tell you what, yeah, it's a flashback that boy, Wayne has matured. But so I was reading about you, which is nice to be able to read about somebody for once on this show, because most of our people don't even are worth mentioning. No, I'm just kidding. We have great people on the show. Nobody get upset with me. But you know, when I was kind of cruising through life, you went to the Air Force Academy.
Yes.
Then you served in the military for 10 years. Pilot 60 missions. That's
yeah, those are actual ground missions.
Okay. Oh, ground mission. Okay, so
yeah,
I should read better. But that's pretty intense, and you know, and a bunch of other great stuff that we're not going to bore everybody with because it would take too long. Because I just want to just get right into what you're doing today. But just want to let people know that, you know, this guy's he's a real American hero, and we appreciate your service, and it is an honor to have you on the show. I joke around a lot, but wow, very impressive what you've done, and you're still a young guy, especially compared to Wayne and I.
Thanks.
So you want to jump into it and just Wayne, go ahead and take the lead on what Chris does today.
Well, I met Chris in a different capacity, and where he's at right now with The Light is something that I think we'd all like to focus on regarding some of the mental health components that Chris has been talking about primarily on a lot of videos and a lot of LinkedIn. Every time his message comes up, I can't wait to hear it. So, Chris, why don't you take it away and tell everybody what it is you're doing now?
Thanks, Wayne, and again, thanks, Kelly, for the kind remarks. I will always try to do my best in life, but I'm absolutely nothing without God. And so all glory to Him for sure. So all that being said, I have always, my comfort zone has been in the military and growing businesses and breaking records and doing that. I felt a very strong calling through having been in the service, having been in war, having my own mental health battles, seeing the suicide rates go through the roof, seeing what happened during COVID. An interesting statistic that I just learned about that if you were born after the year 2000, you statistically, again, this is general statistics, have 40% less empathy than those that were born before. And it's a lot of the social media age and the self-absorption and the how many likes can I get and the how many comments can I get. And your day rides high on that and runs very low on that. And there's no reliance on anything. And I'm watching all this unfold, right? I love business. I was a president of Real Manage. We did some amazing things there. I love my Real Manage family. Our country that I love's direction, we're declining tremendously. And it's a lot of spiritual warfare. It's a lot of mental health and how those two come together. And this generation is our future leaders, and they need leadership. I think often we get so frustrated with them, but they need leadership. They need guidance. They need encouragement. The highest suicide rates are in that age range of 20 to 34 right now. And then the generation that's coming behind that has severe mental health as well too. Part of it is that to access the proper mental health that they need, it's so expensive. The industry is so litigious. It's so hard to get good care for our children that really truly need it. And so with the light, I'm doing a lot of exploration right now on how can we get more accessible care and health, mental health for these young men and women. How can we help the parents who are struggling and don't know what to do? How can we, and what does it mean to spread the light? Well, it means spread the light is my inspiration for this comes out of 1 John, which is 1 John 1 verses 5-7, which talks about how God is light. And if we can walk in fellowship with one another, because we're greatly missing that, it makes a massive impact in the world on people. And on top of that, the concept that his blood forgave us for our sins. So we have a lot of people who haven't forgiven themselves in life. They're lacking that fellowship, and it's turning into self-absorption as opposed to how do I love my neighbor more. And what I just spouted out was a massive problem we have that I'm in the very beginning stages of trying to solve for. And this is a lot of just what I've learned that I'm kind of brain dumping on you right now. But in spreading the light, we've got to encourage one another, have fellowship, let people know they're not alone, help people have a safe place to talk and to communicate, to share what they're struggling with. And this concept, right? Wayne, one of the things I admire about you, man, is you're a vulnerable man and you're courageous, right? Which one of the first few things that you have to look at when you get out of your comfort zone. We die in our comfort zone. We die in our comfort zone. You're not living when you're in your comfort zone. You're sliding by. And in order for you to really, truly realize who God designed you to be, the warrior God designed you to be, you have to make a decision to love yourself. And if you love yourself, you need to forgive yourself, right? We have a savior. We oftentimes don't accept that. We want to, it's just like a lot of our politicians and such. Everybody wants to be like, oh yeah, let me check the box Christian. Yeah, I'm a Christian, right? But no one wants to live it because it's hard. It's uncomfortable. You're not going to be as popular with the world if you do so. I mean, Jesus warned us of that. So the first decision you have to make is you got to love yourself. Then you actually have to be vulnerable. You actually have to be able to say, I'm not perfect, which is a huge problem we have with the leadership of our country because it's based on being perfect. It is. This guy got a DWI when he was 18. Okay, that was 20 years ago. Maybe he learned, right? Maybe he learned.
We always talk about learning from our mistakes, so let's give some people credit for that. But you hit some elements, so let me touch on before you go too far. And you're so on point. One of the biggest things is, and as a Christian, I hear people all the time going, "Oh God, please forgive me for the same thing." So I always stop them and go, "Hold on a second. God isn't some Pontius, obnoxious, I'm the king of the world," although he is. He's all, he also calls us brother. And if you ask him for forgiveness, he gives it to you. He forgets about it. So you got to forget about it and forgive yourself. But don't go out and make the same mistakes. But by golly, so many people torment themselves from things they've done. Some of them not such a big deal, but it's a big deal to them. Other people, it was a huge deal that they did to them, but they have to forgive themselves. It's hard for human beings for us to understand forgiveness, but he does it, and we don't have to understand. We just have to accept it. The second thing I wanted to throw out to you was, because you hit it, social media has made people so self-absorbed, and I'm in it. Trust me, my daughter's a social influencer. She's got 37,000 followers on Instagram. She used to have 100,000. She has sold tens of thousands of books. She's a poet, very talented. And I've seen the pluses and the negatives from her involved with social media. But the one other element you're missing, or maybe you're not missing, just didn't talk about it, was the pills that people are ingesting as
Yeah.
children and as adults. People need to get the right counselors. I think the right counselor is above us, not somebody with a PhD or, God forbid, a PhD MD where they're giving people drugs. Oh, you're suffering? Let me give you a pill. Drink water. It's better for you. One of today's sponsors, Callaway Blue. So I just wanted to throw that out to where, because that's a huge concern of mine. Is people smoking pot, dude. Face your reality. Don't go out and get high. People getting drunk all the time. Don't get drunk. Face your reality.
I mean, alcohol,
God forbid, don't do the
poison.
pills.
Alcohol is a poison. I've been sober for about 3 years now, and the amount of development you have, you can't really. Somebody who was a recovering alcoholic that I was friends with, someone I served in Iraq with, told me that they learned that if you are in a state of abusing alcohol, and that is something that you do, it's like alcohol is part of your life. Okay, it is. It's part of your routine, weekly, daily, whatever you want to call it. You stop maturing, and I didn't really know that meant, and I didn't believe it until you stop drinking. Right. It's a poison. I mean, it's toxic, and it alters your mind. Same thing. THC, right? It can have therapeutic purposes, but the thing is when it becomes the crutch or alcohol, it turns into. I mean, one of Jesus' first miracles, water and wine, right? I think people often abuse that to go, yeah, Jesus drank, therefore I'm going to drink. And
the alcohol level in the wine that he created.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was just to take the germs out of the water.
Absolutely. Because, it's about sales and marketing now.
Right.
So it's much different. And when people start to use that as their crutch, they don't face the reality. They're not able to work through their demons, if you will. They're not able to work through their problems. And then they have an altered mindset, and it really throws their empathy levels off big time.
Yeah.
So, hey,
go ahead.
I got a question for Chris. So, Chris, in a previous capacity as a nationally renowned leader, where everybody in our sector knows you and is aware of you, is there a seminal moment that throughout the course of your lifetime, your career, whatever, that you felt that calling to be where you're at right now? Because one of my favorite sayings is the two most important days on this earth for all of us are the day that you were born and the day that you found out what your purpose is. Shed a little light on that for us.
Yeah, Wayne, it's hard, right? I mean, it's one of the hardest things to make, because there is this what the world wants you to do, what society wants you to do, and what those who live their life through you want you to do. Why would you walk away from power, glory, money, fame, notoriety, to go out into a world of not earning that kind of money, not earning that kind of fame, not having that type of glory, and actually, in fact, going, no, all glory is to God, not to me. I am not to be glorified, is against the flesh. It's not easy. But that's what I was talking about when for me, it was, I had to make a decision to love myself. I had to become vulnerable. And there is no courage without vulnerability. So Brene Brown saying, and because I'm now like, it's a different type of getting out of comfort zone, because when you get used to being into that world of leading and being on a high platform and doing such, that ends up becoming your comfort zone. But maybe it's not who God necessarily designed you to be, and having to cross the river of fear, and then in your head going, yeah, well, you'll never make that kind of money again. You're never going to be able to influence people like that again. You're not going to be loved. People aren't going to love you anymore if you're not providing this grand life for them anymore, or you're not making, that, and right. It gets in your head, right? And you got to be vulnerable and say, all right, like, I'm going to put myself out there in a different capacity, and it's going to disappoint a lot of people, and people are going to be hurt and upset. And that's, I'm not responsible for their emotions.
Amen. Very well said. Very well said.
The trajectory you're on in life right now can change so many lives, and it's so important. And I'm just thrilled on what you're sharing with today. You know, every show that we do is extremely important, and I really love the people that we bring on, but you're really hitting some very serious issues that people are going through. And there's simple answers to it. You know, it's just, I don't know if you saw the Tim Conway thing where he plays a therapist, and he just charges $5, $1 an hour or $1 a minute. And he says he only goes up to 5 minutes. And he says, stop it. And stop hating yourself. Stop listening to the Satan side of your head, of saying negative things about everything you're doing, and listen to the positive side. It's so extremely important. So stop, start. And it is a lot more than that. And there's some people that have some serious things to recover from.
Yeah.
But just to understand, what this book says, another sponsor, no, I'm just kidding, sponsor of our lives, where their answers are in there, but God forgives. And it's so hard for us to understand that. The only thing that's harder to understand is that people, I don't understand why people can't forgive themselves. But with your message, I think it really can be very powerful to so many people.
Yeah, I think part of the reason why folks struggle with forgiving themselves is they, when you make a decision to love yourself, your environment's going to change. So when you do that, a lot of people that are in your life will try to remind you of why you shouldn't be leading and living a different life, or why you're not worthy of that life, or try to remind you and hold it. Because when I did a talk on 5 signs that you're either personally and professionally in a toxic relationship. We've all had toxic relationships in our life, and that could be family, it could be colleagues at work, it could be friends, but they want to control you. And so they will feed you whatever they need to feed you to not lose control of you. And I think, like, sometimes, not even sometimes, you just really need to walk away from being in certain environments, because it'll choke you,
Sure.
It will choke you. And you need to walk away from that and be strong, because you can't live in both worlds. You just can't.
Sure.
You just can't.
My grandmother, which was passed on to my mother, I'm sure my grandmother stole it from someone or borrowed it. But she says, if you realized how little people think of you, you won't worry about what other people think about you. And that's kind of encompasses everything you're talking about is, give glory to God, be true to yourself, be true to your friends and everybody you come in contact with. But the naysayers, just don't worry about it. They got bigger issues than you could ever possibly imagine. So don't, if anything, give them a helping hand. But don't feed into that conversation that they're saying, oh, well, you see what they're driving? Can you believe he left his job and now he's doing this? Who cares what other people think?
Yeah, I've heard that.
Right. I love what you're doing.
Hey, Chris, if you would have to give one message out to everybody that's going to be watching this video to get themselves back on track, to get their spiritual cup filled, what would you recommend? Is it as simple as just weaning yourself off social media? I think there's a lot more to it than that. Maybe a couple bullet points, because maybe that's all people are going to need. So please enlighten us on what you think.
First one, make a decision to love yourself. And you may not know what that means or what that looks like, and that's okay. Make a decision to love yourself. Then begin to spend more time with yourself. What does that mean? That means going for walks, exercising. Don't overwhelm yourself with noises and such and drowning out what the Holy Spirit, if you will, your intuition, what it's telling you as you get to know yourself a little bit more. Stop trying to win everyone over. Maybe take a step back from reaching out to a bunch of people in your life, and you'll start to figure out who really loves you and cares for you as you take a step back. Just be. And I'm realizing that what just be means is be present. So something I always struggled with, and I encourage people to do this as well too, is I mean, I was a deal maker. I mean, that's what I'm really, really good at, deal maker, right? So if I'm not making deals, my value decreases how people would perceive me or love me. And so I need to do it. And this is all pressure you put on yourself, right? This is not anything else. And so I'd be putting my kids to sleep in conversation, and I'm just hitting messages, boom, closing it out. Oh, shoot, I forgot to send 10 prospect messages out. Copy, boom, boom. I need to get this out. I need to get this done. There was times where I'd be at my kids' games, and one of my sons would look up at me, and I'm down on my phone doing this, and he's just eyeballing me to see if I'm going to be watching him. Right. So, like, for me, I had to put, one of the things I do now is I film every one of their plays, because nothing else will distract me, and I get to share those highlights with them. So stop not being, be. If you're connecting and talking to a friend, just put your device away. The device is it's overwhelming with the options you have, right? So my biggest advice is love yourself, spend more time with yourself, stop trying so hard to win everyone over, and really just be. And by just be, that means be present. And what does to be present means? It means to be in the arena and be engaged with those that you're in dialogue with. And if that means that it's just you and God, then it's just you and God. Be present. You don't need to have music playing in the background to drown out what's going on. And I think that we often make life so hard because we're so scared of the reality and having to do the things that make us uncomfortable, when it's really not that it's that uncomfortable. It's that the hype we create in our head of not, stepping out of our comfort zone is just makes it harder and harder and harder. An example, right? I remember one of the requirements we had at the Air Force Academy to graduate, we'd have to go up onto a 10-meter diving board and jump off in our fatigues, right? Our battle dress uniform. And it was a graduation requirement. If I went up there and just stood up to the front, and this happened to people all the time, they walk out, come back, they walk out, they come back. And I remember someone saying, you just go, right? When I jumped out of an airplane, you don't just stare around and look. No, you just go. And the more I'm
going to take your word for it.
Walk up to the corner, the edge, your comfort zone, and step back and walk out. It doesn't mean you don't need to be calculated about it. You definitely want to make sure you got your parachute on it. You want to make sure you have all that. But it gets in people's heads. So it's not, getting out of your comfort zone is not as bad as it really is. It's the hype that you make it be, and the walking up to it, and then walking back, and the walking up to it, and walking back, that really, really, really hyper stimulates your brain to think that you just can't do it.
Yep.
Well, I want to ask you possibly a final question. Wayne might have something else. So you've made some huge changes in your life. Obviously, all that you can just see it in your face. You look like you're 30 years old, and I know you're a little bit older than that. You're very
42.
happy,
Yeah.
But there's another, and it sounds like, the kids are happy. How is your wife taking this transition?
I mean, she's my best friend. Wayne knows her very well, and she's the most amazing woman in the world. And she's my best friend, and she loves and supports me, and it encourages me. I mean, she knew that this was going to be very challenging, and it has been. It hasn't been an easy road. waking up every single day and you know, putting your energy into something else. I think one of the hardest things is, and this is part of being vulnerable is my whole life, from the time I was a teenager, my self-worth and value came externally. It came from, you know, my family and those that were around me. They loved that, you know, hey, Chris Ayoub is going to the Air Force Academy. He's #1. And then he's #1 in the Air Force, White House, Pentagon, Sword of the Pentagon, congressional record, 64 combat missions. Then he's going to go into Army Special Operations Warfare, the Special Warfare Center. He's going to go to the Civil Affairs course. He's going to do, you know, #1 peer rating there in a selection assessment. You know, then I got injured when I was in the Army, and it broke me in half because my value was being this military rock star and leader. And that's those around me, those are the pats on the back that I constantly got. So my value was always around what I did externally. And then I went down a dark road. But I mean, I was like, I'm going to go into the corporate world and I'm going to crush it, and I'm going to crush it and crush it and crush it. And so much of my value came from, you know, all the great things that I got to do in the corporate world, all the you know, the notoriety and, you know, 40 under 40, and then, you know, fastest growing business here, fast growing, boom, 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 boom. I'll be loved then. I'll be, you know, everyone's going to love me, value me, appreciate me.
Right.
And so this part of my life that I'm in right now, and I have the most amazing partner for that, is, you know, my value's got to come from within and God, and it's got to come from within my home also. And in true love, not loving me because I just closed X amount of deals in 3 months. I broke this record and that record. Aren't I amazing? Don't you love me now? Right? Why can't I get that love and respect now? On and on and on, right? And that's life. So she is an amazing partner, period. And
I heard
really
a rumor of that.
helping
That's
me
why I
with that
mentioned
stage of my life.
Right. And that's huge value. But she went through it all with you. I mean, we probably should have her on the show sometime because
yeah, you should.
Know, she's, first of all, she sounds amazing, and she's, you know, linked up with you, which is impressive. But it's just, you know, that's what you went through, and making those changes. Not every partner's going to be all in on with you. So that's huge. You know, that's, you know, I'm divorced. You know, I'm going to get some great marital advice. That's a huge aspect to a great marriage is.
Appreciate it. And by the way, this is
honor God and all that you do.
This is my second marriage. So I've
well, there we go. So
yeah.
I think that's this is probably a good spot to end it on, because Chris, those last couple minutes were complete gold as far as a synopsis of what you've been through. And then when I met you, I just want to thank you very much for coming on the show.
I love you, brother. Thanks.
I love you too, man, and continuing to spread the light. And Kelly and I are definitely going to be looking forward to catching up with you down the road as you continue to build this and evangelize message that's so important to us all.
Where's the best way for people to get your information? Is it through LinkedIn?
Yeah, just reach out and connect with me on LinkedIn. And
so that's what we use. So great. I wanted to make sure that if you had a website or something, but if they can find your post on LinkedIn and you know,
yeah, on LinkedIn, and I do a lot of posts on TikTok as well too.
Awesome. I appreciate you, sir, and we will be catching up with you in the very near future. And tell Rachel that we said hello. Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
All right.